Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're watching this, thank you so much for joining us for our Glow Family Devotional. Today we're going to talk about the one true God who gives. It's been about 40 years since God promised Abram descendants that would outnumber the stars. In that time, Abram had a son named Ishmael, who was born by his wife's servant. This was a common practice in ancient cultures because having an heir was so important. While Ishmael was Abram's firstborn son, he wasn't Sarai's child, and this caused all kinds of family trouble. If you're feeling up for it as a family, you are welcome to read Genesis 16 and Genesis 21 to see some of those issues. During those years, Abram's name changed from Abram, which means exalted father, to Abraham, which means father of many, and Sarai, which means quarrelsome, changed to Sarah, which means princess. Isaac, the promised son of Abraham and Sarah, was born 25 years after the original promise. When we meet Abraham and Isaac today, Isaac is probably around 15 years old. So what you guys are going to do as a family, you're going to read Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 through 19, in whatever translation you want, however you want to do it. When you get done, we'll be right back. Let's talk about it. How do you think Abraham felt when God asked him to sacrifice his son Isaac? Are you ever asked by others to do things you don't want to do? Put yourself in Isaac's shoes. How would you react to being asked to go through with something so drastic? What happens before Abraham has done the unthinkable? Is there anything that confuses you about this story? If so, it's okay. Do you have any questions about Genesis 22, 1 through 19? Now's your time to ask any questions you might have about this story or the Bible in general. Closing thoughts. Just like the Noah story, cultures surrounding Abraham had different ideas about who God was and what God expected from people. As shocking as it may seem, there were many ancient cultures that practiced the ritual of human sacrifice. When God tested Abraham and asked him to sacrifice his beloved son Isaac, he did so to correct what Abraham had believed about God up to this point. He did so to show he is different from the false gods of his neighbors. Our God still doesn't demand the sacrifice of another in order to prove our loyalty. He makes another way, a way of love, a way of peace, a way of mercy, a way of grace. Over and over in the Bible, God corrects and adjusts people's understanding of him. He tells us that he desires mercy, not sacrifice. All that is required of us is to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with God. Let's pray. Take turns reading Psalm 40. I would recommend using the New Living Translation, but you guys can use whatever translation you want. And take turns reading that as your prayer today. All right, this next activity and context are totally optional, so feel free to hit the stop button, do this later, or not do it at all. It's just here to give some extra depth and understanding to the story, but totally optional. Activity. Act justly, love mercy, walk humbly. What does it mean to do these things? Make a list of words and deeds that you feel define what it means for you to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly. Hang the list in your bedroom and choose one word to practice this week and each week. What's in a name? A lot. Elohim versus Jehovah. The Hebrew language is the language that the Old Testament was written in. In Hebrew, there are many different names used for God that mean different things. For example, there are different names meaning the God who saves, the God who sees, God Almighty, etc. In the beginning of Genesis 22, the word used for God is Elohim. Elohim is a plural form of God and is used to reference God over 2,600 times in the Bible. It's one of the most common names for God in the Bible and means great strength or power. But the name given to God when he stops Abraham from sacrificing his son is Jehovah. Jehovah is the proper name for the Israelites one true God, and is translated for us most often as in all caps Lord, Lord. It is used in the Bible over 6,500 times.